rates, inflation, and rising credit card debt. Everyone needs a little help from time to time, but it can be hard to ask for help when it comes to your personal finances. But you're not alone. Millions of Canadians share that feeling with you. 500,000 Canadians have found help with their debt, and so can you with Consolidated Credit Counseling Services of Canada. They are one of the largest non-profit credit counseling organizations in the country with an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau. They can help you consolidate your bills into one affordable payment, minimize your interest rates, and get you out of debt fast. No matter how much you owe, you don't need to do this alone. To get help, call 1-800-288-4991. That's 1-800-288-4991. Let Consolidated Credit get you back to a debt-free life. Call 1-800-288-4991. Call toll-free today for a free consultation. 1-800-288-4991. Ontario license number 4705786.
This segment on TSN 1050 is brought to you by Leasebusters. Need to get out of your current vehicle lease? Leasebusters is Canada's #1 lease takeover destination because leasebusters.com works.
CHUM AM Toronto is TSN 1050, an iHeart radio station and the voice of Toronto sports. This is the best of First Up on TSN 1050. If you like what you hear, you can listen to First Up every weekday morning from 6 till 10. This is Leafs Breakfast.
Welcome into Leafs Breakfast Tuesday morning, the morning of Leafs Senators game number 5 down at Scotiabank Arena. Aaron Karolnik, Carlo Koliakovo, and our TSN hockey insider, Chris Johnston, joining our breakfast table. CJ, good morning. How we doing?
I'm doing well, guys. How are you?
I think I'm good. Coco, you good?
I've been better, but as the day goes on, I'll feel better.
Yes, he's feeling good. He's feeling good. He's pumped up for tonight, Chris. We're all going to be together tonight. That's all that is important. And I am curious about your reflections on practice yesterday, because as I'm sure you're aware, there's people in the city, maybe it's me mostly, we're talking about the 1-12 record in elimination games since 2018. And making that a storyline ahead of tonight's game where the Leafs have an opportunity to finish off the Ottawa Senators. How prominent is that storyline down at practice, and what did everybody surrounding the situation have to say about it, Chris?
Well, Mitch Marner said it best. He said he's living in the moment. He's not looking at the past. And I think in all seriousness, that's the only way, if you're one of the players that's been there for all those games or most of those games, that you can approach it. But it's a storyline for everyone outside the dressing room. As much as I don't know that it's one that will be discussed inside it as much. I mean, anyone who's a fan of the team or been around, understands this. I think that there's a certain, maybe trauma's a little too strong, but there's a certain feeling that here we go again. I think if they do lose another chance at closing it out, but the one thing I'd say is, the Leafs to me have played well in the series. They've led for most of it, the last game being a notable exception, didn't get off to a great start. And, it's the only game of the series where Toronto didn't have a lead at some point. But, this is, it's right there in their hands. I mean, it doesn't get better than potentially finishing it a little bit early, getting ready for the next round. And I do think that if they play their best game, it's not, they didn't lose 4 games in a row all year. I'll put it that way for you, AK. So there's your piece of good news.
Nice. I'm writing that one down.
So if this goes the wrong way for them, it will be the first time all season they lost 4 games in a row. That's how confident you should feel, probably.
Do you anticipate any lineup changes for Toronto tonight?
I don't think so. Just there was no indication of that at practice. That being said, I don't know if they're going to tell us anything, even if there are. So, but at this point, it did look like it was status quo. Obviously, Austin Matthews, took the day off for rest, but no issues there. So I do think that it's probably going to be the same group they had in Ottawa.
CJ, when you look at the way this series has played out, Toronto has to feel pretty good about where they're at. I mean, they've played really good hockey. This series could go either way. Do you think there's any pressure being felt in that locker room, being where they're at right now? I mean, it's a ridiculous question to ask, but considering this team's recent playoff failures, do you think, is it too early to say that there's pressure, or do you think after tonight?
Well, I imagine there's always some degree of pressure. I mean, it is the playoffs. But I think there's confidence, too. I mean, the one consistent that I've seen, I've been around a lot here the last 2 weeks, the team is just, it does feel very businesslike. It feels like this is kind of how we operate. There's a couple ways to look at this series. It has been very close. I mean, you look at, things like the total shots are 102-99 for Ottawa, for example. It's been a fairly evenly played series at times, and yet it's felt like Toronto's still been in control. And I do think that that's part of what this team has become under Craig Berube. They've become more comfortable in close games. They close out games when they get a lead really well. They shut things down. I mean, how many periods in the series have they kept the Senators under 4, 3, 2, 1 shots? So I think if they can put together their best game, there's no reason not to feel confident. But that being said, records aside, even for the players that are in their first year here, I think you do feel that urgency, the pressure to close it off and obviously not give the other side any life and make this more interesting than it needs to be.
Our guest is TSN Hockey Insider Chris Johnston. Leafs sends Game 5 tonight. Chris, here is the reason why I don't think Ottawa has any chance in coming back in the series.
Here we go.
Can you guess?
Clip this.
And Chris, I know you agree with what I'm about to say. And the answer is Linus Ullmark. And Linus Ullmark made some big saves in game number 4. I will give him some credit. But some of those saves included being completely clueless as to where the puck was, unable to track it, unable to control the puck. He just got fortunate that bounces went one way as opposed to the other. If I'm Ottawa, I am hoping and praying that maybe this guy has found something after game 4, but I am very skeptical that is the case.
I don't know how convincing you could be about saying that when we just watched 3 straight games go to overtime.
What does that have to do with anything?
You're saying Linus Ullmark's been terrible, and there's no reason they can win without. They just went to 3 straight overtimes.
Win with him is what I'm saying. Chris, your thoughts on Linus Ullmark and the threat he poses to Toronto?
Glass half full. He's trending in the right direction. His performances have been getting better since that first game. Glass half empty, though, I'm with you. He's been the second best goaltender overall in the series, and it's tough to win a series like that. It's not impossible, but it doesn't happen too often. I think that Stolarz is an interesting question for the Leafs too, just because he hasn't played so frequently at any point during his NHL career, where he's going literally every other night. Obviously, high pressure games, the overtimes don't help. I mean, maybe having that extra day of rest will be beneficial for Stolarz, but the goaltending matchup is pretty important, and the Leafs, I think, have a series lead in big part because they've had the edge in that department. But it could change on a moment's notice, and we keep hearing the Senators talk about the Vezina that Linus Ullmark won a couple years ago when he was in Boston. At some point, I guess if that Vezina quality player comes out, maybe my opinion will change. But I'm with you. I just think that there's been some concern there. He certainly hasn't looked terribly comfortable, but I take Carlos' point to heart too. I mean, it's not like Toronto's blowing the doors off them either. So, it's small margins in the series, and I think you need the Leafs. To me, and they haven't been bad. Like, this is not putting them on Paul, but someone like Austin Matthews leads the series in total shots and has the 1 goal. Like, I feel like he's due for. I think Toronto's game breakers can break a game open and expose Ullmark a little bit more. In the next game or perhaps a couple games.
Pucks on net. That's the Leafs mentality tonight. If I'm Craig Berube,
pucks in net.
Pucks in net. Well, if pucks are on the net, they will be in the net against Linus Ullmark. But as far as Stolarz goes, don't think anyone liked the Brady Tkachuk goal at the end of Game 2. Game number 3, excuse me. Game 4 saw Stolarz certainly not at his best. How long do you think the leash is on Stolarz if tonight doesn't go well for the Toronto Maple Leafs?
You're hard on goaltenders.
I am. Noodles would not be a fan of mine today.
Jeez.
Well, I don't think it can be terribly long. It really depends. Like, it's hard to know what we see. I think that if he's saving the ones he's supposed to save, even if they lose the game, then he's okay. But if it gets a little bit leakier, I mean, you saw the one shot sort of trickle through him in the last game. Now, granted, that was on a shorthanded breakaway. So, I mean, it's a pretty high danger look. against as well. So you can't fault just the goaltender for that play. But, I do think that there's very much a world that Joseph Woll enters the equation here for the Leafs, whether it's in this series, whether if they move on, something happens. I mean, the Leafs use 2 goaltenders all year pretty much as evenly as you can do. And so, I think I'd be getting ahead of myself if I thought it was just suddenly going to get to the playoffs and you only use one. So I don't think that the leash is terribly long, but that's not to say that it's only a disaster that puts them there. I mean, maybe at some point from a rest perspective, they decide that's the way to go. But, I don't expect that to be tonight. And then you're going to have to reevaluate pretty quickly if Ottawa manages to force a game 6.
CJ, you obviously, I said this to AK earlier, seems like during the football season, we spend a lot of time on Monday ranting about the referees. And it just seems like the last couple nights in the NHL playoffs, there's been a lot of focus on the referees. And you go back to the Montreal series, the games over the weekend, the Anderson and Wilson saga, and even some of the calls that were made in the following game. You go to the Hagel incident, the Kachuk incident, and maybe even the John Tavares Zub hit that probably should have been a penalty if it was in regulation. But last night, Aaron Ekblad goes full forearm with force into the head neck area of Brandon Hagel, knocks him out. No call on the play, no huddle to review this play. And Ekblad ends up being a difference maker in the game. How is the NHL allowing this type of refereeing to take place in the playoffs?
That's a loaded question. Refereeing, it seems like every playoffs, if we're being honest, the last few years, there's been a lot of scrutiny on the referees. The one last night it's hard to understand. The game, of course, is fast. I don't think we can ever expect anything close to perfect. And frankly, when you have all the emotion you have in these games, you're never going to have a call that anyone thinks is totally right because there's people on both sides cheering for certain outcomes. But with the Ekblad on Hagel, I mean, it's just a missed call, and it's a big one. It's a huge one in the game because I think at minimum you're probably looking at a 5-minute major there. He's out of the game. This is the butterfly effect, but he's the one who ties the game later. I mean, that doesn't sit well with Tampa. Can't sit well that they're, I think it's fair to infer that they were targeting Hagel after Hagel's hit on Barkov earlier in the series. So it's a bit of an eye for an eye justice. And, now the Lightning are on the verge of elimination. So, I think the reaction around this one gets even spicier than some other calls or non-calls that we've seen because of those circumstances. And, I do think that the Department of Player Safety is likely to step in here and penalize Ekblad in reverse, but it might be too late for the Lightning. It's just a fact. And we don't yet know what the status is of Hagel, if he'll be, have the ability to play in the next game in the series or even beyond that point if they manage to extend things. So, look, it's not going to be a game of perfect ever. I think we can all, I like aggressive hockey. Like I enjoy the playoffs for the emotion, but obviously some things spill over the top, some things get missed. And, I don't want to just wave it away because, there's definitely, in speaking with people around the league, there's definitely frustration about this, but I don't know if anyone has the answer. I mean, what can be done? The people that referee NHL hockey games are the best in the world at what they do, and this is still what we have. I mean, I don't think that there's some better ref out there in Czechia or Finland or somewhere not working in the NHL. You know what I mean? It's not like they missed a hot prospect. I mean, this is the best of what they have, and in the way of the game right now, there's lots of nights I think that the refs become more of the story than anyone would care for.
So are you expecting, just to clarify, Ekblad to have a hearing for the hit? Like, is there a suspension in play here?
That's not confirmed, but I do think that's a very likely outcome here. I mean, look, it's both because of what he did and also because he wasn't penalized, right? I mean, you might argue if he got ejected at that point in the game, it was in the second period, and that was enough punishment, so to speak. Mikkola got kicked out early in the third for his hit, but when he's not penalized at all on the ice, I do think. And obviously it's just a targeted headshot as well. I mean, it's hard to ignore that fact. So, we'll see probably a little later this morning exactly where that lands, but I certainly think it's distinct possibility we're talking about a suspension.
Yeah, I think both Ekblad and Mikula should be suspended for the entirety of round 2. That's what I think. Forget the rest of this series. Round 2.
You got to worry about round 1.
Yeah, it's
first,
true.
Man.
You
Don't get ahead.
can't get ahead of ourselves. I wanted to ask you about Kyle Dubas' press conference yesterday, where he addressed the departure of Mike Sullivan, and there was the phrasing "mutual parting of ways." I think that the Penguins put out, and then Dubas made it sound a little bit different. So, can you clarify for us? Did Dubas fire Mike Sullivan, or was that a more mutual decision for him to leave Pittsburgh?
Well, I don't know the exact terms of things, but when you mutually decide to part ways, generally speaking, there's an agreement about how your contract ends. So I think the mutual part is there must have been some kind of negotiation on the exit. You know, when a coach is fired, just straight up, he remains technically sort of property of the team. He keeps getting paid for the remainder of his deal, and that's relevant in this case because Mike Sullivan has 2 years left beyond the season, or he did have 2 years left beyond the season with the Penguins. You know, by doing it the way they did, I don't know the terms of you know, the negotiated exit, but it means that Mike Sullivan today is a free agent. And, you know, that's pretty valuable to the other teams that want to deal with him. I think it's going to end up being very lucrative for Mike Sullivan because of how many teams are looking for a coach and how many big spending teams, big market teams there are out there. And just the fact that I think he's the best person available, the most accomplished, still in a sweet spot of his career to take one of those jobs and try to turn one of those teams around. So, you know, I think this has been an ongoing conversation. The one thing I'll say about this, Dubas has been pretty open about what he wants to do and what he's going to do and what he is doing since coming to Pittsburgh. I think it's been a little harder for those that have been there to see the end of what was, right? I mean, Mike Sullivan was a huge part of turning around that organization, having that sort of second era with Crosby, Malkin, Letang and company, where they won 2 more cups and were a very competitive team. And, you know, Kyle's there to completely revamp the organization. And pretty soon there's going to be nothing left from that era. There's still a few players remaining around, but you know, I think that it's a hard job in some ways that Dubas has signed up for. Doesn't probably make him the most popular, but you know, my sense is he's knowing what he wants to do. I think he sold ownership on this plan, and you know, he's taken step by step towards basically starting a more full-scale rebuild even than they've already done to this point.
This is the best of First Up on TSN 1050. If you like what you hear, you can listen to First Up every weekday morning from 6 till 10. TSN 1050. Traffic.
Please be exercising caution. The adverse weather making today's drive home more tricky than usual. On the 401 eastbound approaching the 427 to the 404, it is slow. Westbound heavy from the 404 to Bathurst, and again from Kiel to approaching the 427. On the 404 northbound, it is slow from Bloor to York Mills, and southbound from approaching Finch to Lawrence. In town, southbound Brimley, south of Ellesmere, all lanes closed with a weather-related road hazard. Have big visions for your home but worried about the cost? Visit Pella's Toronto and Oakville showrooms to find windows that match your style at a price you can afford. From the News Talk 1010 Traffic Center, I'm Adil Lakhani.
Gameplay. Weekday afternoons from 2 till 4. Gameplay on TSN Radio. Embrace the odds. For the win! They're coming in hot.
I think the Leafs have played as well as you could expect through 4 games. What would you think the messaging is from Craig Berube going into Game 5 tomorrow night?
My message would be, you play like you did the other night, which I thought they were great the other night in Ottawa. I really did in Game 4. I mean, what did they allow Ottawa? 6 shots in 2 periods. There was one shot from the point where you could see all 5 guys in perfect position in front of the net. There's no chance this puck is getting through. This time last year, there might have been 4 guys in front or even 3 guys, and that's the big difference. They're taking care of their own zone. They are not allowing anything. That's the way in the end. If you look at how the Stanley Cup is going to get won, it's not going to be a 7-5 game in the finals. It's going to be a 2-1, 3-2 nail-biter. I know they lost, but I love the way they're playing the game.
Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog. Weekdays at 4 on TSN 1050.
You searched for your informant, who disappeared without a trace. You knew there were witnesses, but lips were sealed. You swept the city, driving closer to the truth. while curled up on the couch with your cat. There's more to imagine when you listen. Discover heart-pounding thrillers on Audible.
HBO's biggest series is back, and it's only on Crave.
If you just keep going, you find something new to fight for.
The Last of Us, starring Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey.
There's no halfway with this.
Don't miss the Emmy-winning HBO original critics call breathtaking and masterfully tense.
What did you do?
I saved her.
The Last of Us. Stream now, only on Crave. Subscribe now at crave.ca.
The #1 selling product of its kind with over 20 years of research and innovation. Botox Cosmetic, onabotulinum toxin A, is a prescription medicine used to temporarily make moderate to severe frown lines, crow's feet, and forehead lines look better in adults.
Effects of Botox Cosmetic may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness may be a sign of a life-threatening condition. Patients with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Don't receive Botox Cosmetic if you have a skin infection. Side effects may include allergic reactions, injection site pain, headache, eyebrow and eyelid drooping, and eyelid swelling. Allergic reactions can include rash, welts, asthma symptoms, and dizziness. Tell your doctor about medical history, muscle or nerve conditions including ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease, myasthenia gravis, or Lambert-Eaton syndrome, and medications, including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects. For full safety information, visit BotoxCosmetic.com or call 877-351-0300.
See for yourself at BotoxCosmetic.com.
Easy. Do you have an invention idea but don't know what to do next? Call InventHelp now for free information on how to get started today. InventHelp provides invention services that help everyday inventors get started with their idea. We have representatives nationwide who will explain the InventHelp process step by step. Over 10,000 patents have been secured through InventHelp's patent referral services. Our services include professional materials needed to showcase your invention and 3D animation and prototype modeling that help you demonstrate your idea. Get down to the details of your idea with a technical drawing. The InventHelp Databank includes thousands of companies who have agreed to review new ideas. We've been helping inventors since 1984. Let's help you next. Take advantage of the opportunity to get started today.
Call 1-800-353-6081. That's 1-800-353-6081. Again, 1-800-353-6081.
Thursday, May 8th is McHappy Day, when every menu item purchased at McDonald's helps support families with sick children. So you can feel the good that comes from doing good, just from ordering.
So if I order a Big Mac, I'm helping.
Yup.
What about a McFlurry? 10-piece chicken McNuggets and apple pie?
You got it. Every single order helps. Join us at McDonald's for McHappy Day on Thursday, May 8th. Do good, feel good. A portion of food and beverage sales will support RMHC chapters and local children's charities across Canada.
Welcome to the West Coast and to the legal drama that's raising the bar. Suits LA, all new, Sunday at 9 on CTV. Stream next day on Crave.
This is the best of First Up on TSN 1050. If you like what you hear, you can listen to First Up every weekday morning from 6 till 10.
My God, are you serious? This is the greatest day of my life.
I think he was caught off guard
Maybe.
with all these like prank calls that have been
That is a
going
good
on
point. That is a good point.
with like the NFL draft and stuff like that. He thought maybe he was being pranked.
He thought that Jeff Ulbricht's son was calling him. The defensive coordinator of the Falcons stole Shander's phone number. That's what he thought was
awesome.
going.
Thank you guys so much.
That's awesome. Thank you guys so much. Yeah, he was happy. Also, we are doing the cold calls here. That is our strategy here on the giveaway. So
I thought we were going to do that with birthdays, like people that
we
know
have
are close to us.
You know any birthdays today that we can give people a call?
No, but 20 fingers. Use one of those 20 fingers and do a search. Whose birthday is it that we know?
It's Mike Babcock's birthday today.
Call him up.
It is Mike Babcock's 62nd birthday today. Very coincidental.
Hello?
We We have one of Mike Babcock's biggest supporters on the line now. He is TSN hockey analyst Frank Corrado. Frank, have you sent Babs a birthday card?
Yeah, you just got to be a good pro and come from a good family and be a good pro.
That's it.
Wait a minute. Did we call Mike Babs?
What's up?
What's up, man? Happy birthday.
What's going on, fellas?
Only good things, man. Only good things.
Yeah.
And I know you had a late night. I've been watching you on SportsCenter all morning. It's a lot of Corrado on SportsCenter. Not enough, in my opinion. Always an insatiable thirst for Frankie Corrado content for yours truly. But I am curious, Frank, how you view tonight's game from a Toronto Maple Leaf perspective, where there is no pressure yet on the Toronto Maple Leafs, but I think everybody is kind of looking ahead to what the pressure could be in game number 6. What do you think the Leafs' approach is to start tonight's game?
It feels like for Toronto, nothing needs to change. Like, everything's gone according to plan. Like, okay, you don't get a sweep. It's hard to beat the same team 4 times in a row. And even in that game, you still saw signs, AK, of it looking and feeling different. Like, you get out to a 2-0 deficit, you find your way back into the game. Then you take over the game, and then you send it to overtime. You're down at that point. Like, there's a lot of things going well for this group. There's a lot of pushback, so nothing really has to change. You're looking at this game, the same way you would look at each individual game that you've played in this series and say, like, let's not deviate from what we've done that's given us success. And, I guess the one thing that would stick out, in game 5 as opposed to game 4 is you want the power play to factor in. And you had a chance in overtime. Listen, I know John Tavares wasn't on the ice, but that's been a significant reason why the Leafs are where they are in this series. So the recipe that was there for games 1, 2, and 3 is the recipe that is available to them in game 5 on home ice. It's just up to them to execute on that. And there's no real reason why they shouldn't be able to, given what we've seen so far in the series.
Frankie, my boy here, Aaron Korolnik, has been trying to paint this picture that Linus Ullmark is the reason why the Maple Leafs should win and why the Senators can't win.
Yes, agreed.
Do you think he's been as bad as he's painting the picture for him, or painting the picture of him, of how he's been in this playoff series?
I think, Ullmark has been quite below average compared to what he usually would be, at his best. You also have to keep in mind, there's been there's been some goals that, he probably didn't have as much of a chance. I think Ullmark is not the reason why they're losing it per se, but he's definitely, not the reason why they're winning it or it's closer at this point. For the Ottawa Senators to have a sniff, Linus Ullmark was going to have to play Vezina caliber goaltending. If Linus Ullmark was even average, that still plays into Toronto's hands quite a bit. And that's where I see Ullmark has been, where it's average to below average with a little bit of a spurt in there where you're like, oh, that's kind of shades of it, but it hasn't been enough of that for Ullmark in the Sens. So I think if you're looking at from an Ottawa lens, what's let them down the most, it's got to be the penalty kill. The penalty kill going into game 4 was 44%. Yeah. That's horrible. And a lot of that has to do with what's happening in front of Linus Ullmark. Not always just him, but I would say that's maybe second or third on the list of reasons why the Sens are where they are in this series. Penalty kills has got to be number 1.
Frankie, it's being reported that the Maple Leafs are going to go with the same lineup. If you were Craig Berube, would you use your secret weapon and put Nick Robertson back in the lineup? Because we know when this guy comes back after healthy scratches, all he does is score.
Yeah.
Or would you wait another game? You'd probably wait another game.
Save him for game 1.
Well, the thing about waiting another game is this. I think if you were going to do it, you probably would do it tonight, because if you wait another game, all of a sudden now everyone might be gripping it a little bit more. That's when you might start to feel the pressure where it's like, we had the chance at a sweep. Now we've lost 2 in a row, and these guys have clawed their way back into a series, and I'm going to put in a guy who has been a liability in the sense that like he takes some penalties that you're like, you have no business taking that penalty and putting your team at a deficit. But the way the Leafs lines are constructed now, I have no issues with it. And realistically, like if we're talking about Robertson and Pacioretty being the difference in a game, like we've kind of lost the plot with what's happening higher in the lineup, or the goaltending battle, or the special teams battle. Like that's lower down the list of factors in a game like this for me. So, you have it, you can go to it. We've seen it a lot this year where he comes back into the lineup, he scores a goal. It's not a guarantee that's going to happen the next time he gets back in the lineup. But that's always going to be the enticing thing about a guy like Nick Robertson, is that he has a shot that can beat a goaltender clean, and all he has to do is get one clean look at it to make it happen. But I think if you watch the way this series is played, like it's tight checking, especially at 5-on-5. There's not a lot of room in a lot of areas of the ice. And it's like, Max Pacioretty plays into that strategy more than a guy like Nick Robertson. But I think it just depends what your appetite is to have someone who might be able to find something offensively, but could be a little more prone to taking that penalty at the wrong time, which we've seen quite a bit from him.
Francesco Corrado, our guest here in hour 3 of First Up. Frank, of course, you were doing SportsCenter last night. You were talking about the hit that Aaron Ekblad laid on Brandon Hagel. We had Chris Johnston on earlier. Made it sound like it's at least a possibility that Ekblad is suspended for it. What was your take on what happened?
Well, right away, like we have the ability to review this type of hit. So you automatically call a 5-minute on that. And I guess if I'm trying to put myself in the official's shoes, we all saw the video. The official is right there. But there's some commotion happening in front. So I can not that I can understand why you didn't make the call. It wasn't like two guys were skating really fast toward each other and you saw like a massive impact. It was like Ekblad skated into Hagel. Hagel wasn't moving particularly fast, and the right forearm of Ekblad, the official was kind of blocked out by it because he was on the left side of Ekblad. Now, with that being said, you're the official. It's your responsibility to make the call. It's your responsibility to penalize the players that deserve penalties. And that should have been, at the very least, you call it a 5-minute major, you get to review the incident, and I'm sure if they went over there and they reviewed it, at the very least, that would have been a 2-minute elbowing penalty. It could have been a 5 in a game, and that's probably what it should have been. And if it's 5 in a game, that eliminates the need for Department of Player Safety to have to step in and say, okay, well, we have to suspend this guy because he deserves something, because that would have been probably, like, being out of the game at that point would have been sufficient enough punishment, especially come playoff time. But they didn't do that. Ekblad stays in the game. Ekblad scores a goal, gets called back, scores another goal, ends up being the tying goal, and he was a menace. He was a menace to the Tampa Bay Lightning. He was public enemy number 1. And Tampa Bay has a very legitimate beef as to how that whole transgression happened for them.
Crazy. I can't believe that series is 3-1 Florida, and the opportunity that the Lightning let pass away yesterday with the lead and all the things that transpired in that game.
On the power play, Carlo, like they had a 5-minute power play because Mikkola got kicked out for a really dirty hit on Gergensen's, and Florida's penalty kill has really neutralized Tampa's power play, and that's a hard thing to do because we know all the weapons that are there. We know how good Kucherov is on the half wall, how dangerous he can be. And that's sort of been a story of the series is the Panthers penalty kill has really sniffed out what Tampa's trying to do with the man advantage.
Frank Corrado with us. I'm going to read you 3 separate numbers, Frank, and I'm hopeful you're able to interpret what they mean. 875, 897, 884. I'm actually going to answer my own question. Those are the save percentages of Andrei Vasilevsky the last 3 years in the Stanley Cup playoffs, which could very well coincide with 3 straight first-round exits of the Tampa Bay Lightning.
I honestly thought you were going to talk about a different goalie there. But
yeah, I thought you were going to Hellebuck.
Hellebuck Sabre percentages are way worse than Vasilevsky.
Hellebuck's last game was 755. Okay,
Hellebuck would kill for 884 right now.
Well, no kidding. Here's what I'll say about this with Vasilevsky and the Tampa Bay Lightning. If you want to correlate his numbers to first round exits, I mean, go back and look at Tampa Bay when they won their cups. What happened in Game 7s? What happened when like it really push came to shove and the Tampa Bay Lightning needed a win? Andre Vasilevsky was superhuman. He was unbelievable. And of course, went to Conn Smythe along the way. Like this guy in Tampa, like it kind of coincides as like Tampa's a good team, but when they really like won and had their success, Andre Vasilevsky was the best goalie in the world, no doubt about it. Massive big game goaltender. And the playoffs is funny, right? Because we're seeing a lot of this happen. Like we just talked about Linus Ullmark. He's got like an 848 save percentage. Connor Hellebuck's at like an 813 right now. And, you know, for Andre Vasilevsky, those are rather pedestrian given the regular season that he had, and the playoffs can do that to goaltenders because of what's happening around them. But if Tampa Bay were to have, you know, were to have a comeback here, or if Tampa Bay prior to the series was going to have a long run towards the Stanley Cup, Andre Vasilevsky was going to have to give them 912, 915, maybe even 920 goaltending. That's the reality of what he's done in the past when the group had success.
That's exactly it. I'm looking at their 3 cup runs. 927 in 1920, 937 in 2021, 922 in 21-22. They get to the cup final. Next 3 years, including this one, he's not even been close to the same goaltender. So for Tampa, Vasilevsky either needs to figure something out or they'll be done. Probably in game number 5. And again, that's been a common theme around the NHL. Connor Hellebuck's another great example. As bad as he's been, again, Winnipeg's still 2-2 in that series. Vasilevsky and the Lightning are down 3-1.
Think about this. Like, I'm looking right now at goal save above expected. Connor Hellebuck's the worst in the NHL at -7. You know who the second worst is? Stuart Skinner. Like, that should put it into perspective, just, you know, how poor things have gone for Connor Hellebuck in the playoffs. And Linus Ullmark is actually third worst.
Where's Vasilevsky?
Vasilevsky is middle of the pack. He's 11th. So he's been
not supporting my argument.
Yeah, well,
let's delete that from the podcast, people.
He's been average.
Yeah,
like and those numbers that you pointed out, Vasilevsky in the past are anything but average. Those are superhuman goaltending numbers, and he's not there. But you know, that's been the reality for the Lightning when they've had their success. He's been unbelievable.
It's crazy. Hellebuck, Vasilevsky, Darcy Kemper. I mean, his numbers were absolutely incredible in the regular season. He's been giving up a bunch of goals to the Oilers. It's a different game, man, in the playoffs. Yeah. Things certainly have changed. And for the goaltenders, that certainly applies as well. Frank?
Chesko, you going down to the game tonight?
No, I'll be at the studio, buddy.
Oh, nice.
Sports Center.
Yeah. Wow. Right on.
Yeah. All right.
That's a shame.
Working man.
Yeah. Frank,
you guys going down? You guys going down together?
Maybe.
We're gonna hold hands and eat pizza together.
We are going to hold hands and eat pizza.
This is the best of First Up on TSN 1050. If you like what you hear, you can listen to First Up every weekday morning from 6 till 10. TSN 1050. Traffic.
Please exercise extra caution on your drive this evening. Reports in town of multiple downed wires and other road hazards. In town, southbound Brimley, south of Ellesmere, all lanes closed with a road hazard. Southbound 427 ramp to the westbound 401. A collision has the right lane blocked on the 401. It's slow going east and west between the 427 and the 404. On the 404 northbound at Don Mills, a crash now in the right shoulder, but the delays start there up to Lawrence. Southbound from approaching Finch, you'll find it slow to past Lawrence. Drive into your locally owned and operated Mr. Lube for warranty-approved oil changes and same-day tire services. Mr. Lube, proudly Canadian, no appointment needed. From the News Talk 1010 Traffic Center, I'm Arthur Lacani.
First Up with Karolnik and Koliakovo. Weekday morning 6 till 10 on TSN 1050.
If you ain't first, you're last.
Did you wake up to this?
Mark Giordano back on First Up.
Everybody around the team in the city feels a certain type of pressure when it comes to this group. Do you think the players inside the locker room feel those same type of pressures, or did they in the previous years?
Yeah, I think for sure it was there a little bit. I felt that
I felt that first year I was here going to Game 7 against Tampa, I thought we were the better team that series. And then we finally did get over the hump when we beat Tampa in 6 the next year. And it seemed like it was just a huge relief, right? And I always said when winning becomes a relief, there's a problem, right? Like you shouldn't be relieved to win. I like what I'm seeing from the Leaf guys this year, though. It just feels different. It feels like their minds are in the right place. And even after that loss last game, it just didn't seem like the lows are too low and the highs are too high.
First Up with Karolnik and Koliakovo. Weekday mornings from 6 till 10 on TSN 1050.
If you ain't first, you're last.
Hey, it's Dolly. People have always commented on my scent, asking what I was wearing and where could they get it. Well, I have been blending my own scent for years, and now I'm sharing it with you. Dolly Scent from Above is the perfect gift for your mother, daughter, grandma, aunt, sister, or any special woman in your life that you wish to celebrate this Mother's Day. Dolly Scent from Above, available now at Walmart stores and walmart.com.
These women are good people.
Amanda Seyfried stars.
It's our job to protect them.
In the riveting mystery thriller.
You gotta let it go.
I'll let it go when I find her.
Long Bright River. All new. Saturday at 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific on USA Network. Stream on Crave.
TSN 1050 is giving away Leafs tickets to every home playoff game. We want the most passionate fans to be in the building. Here's how you can win. Listen to First Up and Overdrive on the iHeartRadio app for at least 15 minutes straight. You can enter twice a day. The more times you listen, the better your shot at winning. Before each home game, First Up will be calling one devoted fan with a pair of tickets.
I believe in miracles. Let's go, boys.
Feel it. Live it. Love it.
Sometimes finding your way means following your heart, even if you don't know where it might lead.
No matter where I went, a part of me would always be here.
An all-new Sullivan's Crossing, Sunday at 7/8 Central on CTV. Stream next day on Crave.
Hey, it's James Duthie for McAlpine Lincoln in Aurora. This season, meet the moment invigorated at the Lincoln Spring event. With exceptional offers blooming now, there's never been a better time to experience the luxury of Lincoln. Enjoy up to a $6,000 credit and a $1,500 conquest bonus. Plus, if you own a Cadillac, you'll receive an extra $1,500 off. Offers on select new 2025 Lincoln models only. Learn more and book your discovery drive today. Visit McAlpineLincoln.com.
Going on vacation? Spending money in another currency? From dollars to dong, pounds to pesos. If you're still using major banks, you could be getting ripped off. Instead, use Wise and save up to 3 times compared to major banks when you spend money in another currency. Download the Wise app today. Wise, the app for doing things in other currencies. Terms and conditions apply.
As parents, summers can be absolute chaos. Kids are off, you, not so much. And the neighbors, out in full force.
Brad, your front lawn! What's the secret, eh?
What if Sunwing could get you out? An all-inclusive package where everything's included. Even a summer's worth of activities makes planning every day easy. And an ocean view your morning ritual. Save up to $1,400 per pair when booking with... We're Canadian, don't you know?
This is the best of First Up on TSN 1050. If you like what you hear, you can listen to First Up every weekday morning from 6 till 10.
The third hour continues here on First Up. You're listening to TSN 1050. We've got Buster Olney joining us in about 15 minutes. Adam Copeland, legend in WWE, who might now be best known as being a Toronto Maple Leafs superfan because he's there at the games. They show him on the screen. The fans go absolutely wild when Adam Copeland is shown. Maybe not like Wendell or Doug Gilmour. Who else have they shown on the Jumbotron so far in this playoffs? Darcy was there. Rick Vive as well.
Steve Thomas.
Steve Thomas, our boy Stumpy.
Boy. Yep.
Yes. So I don't know, but what Adam Copeland's showing, the fans go pretty crazy too.
It was him and Trish
close.
Stratus at the same game.
That's
wasn't
right.
It?
That's
Yeah.
right. So he'll call in just a second. We're looking forward to that.
Can't wait, man. I love this guy. He's the ultimate hype machine.
I think Arad is just talking his ear off for whatever
I know.
reason. I don't really get it. He's like, man, your match against this guy in 1997 is incredible. But we've got Adam Copeland on the line now, who's 2-0 in Leaf games so far this playoff run, and looking perhaps to go 3-0 tonight. What's up, Adam? How we feeling?
How's it going, guys?
We're good, man. We're good. So you were at game 1 and game 2. Will you be in attendance tonight as well in game 5?
No, I won't be tonight.
You're going to be there in spirit. You're going to be there in spirit.
Well, I'll be watching, without a doubt.
Yeah.
I'll be in my Leafs room in my Leafs recliner with my Wendell Clark socks on, below my Rod hockey game painted with Wendell Clark on it. I have problems, guys.
Wait a minute. That just means you're a Leaf fan.
Passionate one.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I think they're all like that. All Leaf fans are like that.
True.
Adam, well, thanks for joining us. Obviously, we know, the impact that you have in this market and the impact that you're having with this team right now. What went into the hype video that you helped the Maple Leafs create before the season started? Was this something that you reached out to them? They reached out to you? Because I've watched it many times. I'm even watching it right now with no volume, and I've got goosebumps.
Well, it's one of those deals. Like, I don't think a lot of people really knew that I had given the Leafs the game belt, right? Because I didn't talk about it or anything. If I was asked, I'd yeah, but it wasn't something that shouted from the rooftops or anything like that. But I think once the organization got wind of that, then they realized, oh wait, this guy he's legit. Like, he really knows this team and the history and the lore and grew up with it. So they had actually reached out and asked if I would be interested in doing a hype video. And I was like, yeah.
Who can I spear?
So I was pretty much, I was on the next flight up. I was like, okay, when are we doing it? And then to go stand at center ice, it's weird because I've been technically center ice, and I use air quotes, because, I've wrestled there plenty of times over the years, but to stand in the middle of that Maple Leaf on the ice, there's something special about that, man. It's just, it felt awesome to be in this empty arena and yelling at the top of my lungs. It felt cathartic. It really did.
Buddy, forget empty arena. Like, you're an entertainer, man. You should be the guy at every home game going at center ice and pumping up the crowd. Like, that should be your new role with this team.
That should be my gig. Well, and hopefully that video does the trick a little bit. Who knows? But for me, it was a blast, man. Just to, as I've said throughout the years, just to be a small little part of that is as a kid from Orangeville, Ontario, whose first memories are Laney McDonald and Daryl Sittler. Like, it's pretty special.
Adam Copeland, our guest. He's a WWE Hall of Famer now with AEW. Massive Leaf fan. Game 5 tonight between Toronto and Ottawa. And you were at the first 2 games, which were super fun. I was there as well. So we're both 2-0 so far in this postseason, Adam. What are your feelings heading into game number 5? Because there's a small segment of Leafs Nation who are very cynical, who are very sad, and constantly skeptical of this hockey club. How are you feeling heading into game number 5?
I saw some people like, well, I'll give Stolars one more game. Shut up. Shut up. Like, just sit down, close your mouth, be quiet, because you're dumb. Because, like, this guy has played out of this world. Like, if he had more games under his belt, if he didn't get injured, he's up for the Vezina too. There's no question in my mind. And I think this team under Berube, they have adopted his mentality, and it shows. I've yet to see panic in this team at all. And that, to me, is far different than what you would feel when it came crunch time in games before. And that's not a knock on Keefe or anyone. It's just, it feels like it took a guy like Berube to help them get to the next level of maturity. and also bringing in guys like Tanev and McCabe coming in last season and getting a full season with the team. It just, the decor, the goaltending, and Berube, to me, it makes this team a different beast than it's ever been before. And that's why this is the first season where I'm like, I don't have any nerves. I feel like they'll figure out a way to do it.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, man. This team is probably the most playoff-ready roster we've seen with this group in existence, right? I mean, and that's what makes you feel good about where they're at. You've wrestled your whole career. Is wrestling something you always thought you'd do? Did you want to play hockey? Or, I mean, I look at the way hockey is played and all the physicality, but your wrestling career, you've taken your own body abuse to that too, no?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think I'm 9 surgeries deep at this point. And, it definitely takes a toll. But, and I've loved hockey since the time I can remember. I realized pretty quickly that we weren't going to be able to afford for me to be able to play hockey. So that dream went by pretty quickly. And I discovered wrestling, and I was like, okay, that's the thing. I was like 10 years old. And then I just stuck to that, because, I've said before, spandex is a lot cheaper than hockey equipment.
That is true.
Wise move. Our guest is Adam Copeland, WWE Hall of Famer with AEW, the Leafs and the Sens tonight heading into game number 5. So I believe it was in game number 2 that you were there and they showed you up on the Jumbotron with Trish Stratus as well. Who was actually Carlo's old yoga teacher back when he was with the Toronto Maple Leafs.
I did yoga sessions with her when I played for the Leafs.
Exactly. And I'm sure Trish remembers it as fondly as Carlo does, no doubt. But as far as how that all went down with the Leafs side and what that experience was like, take us through it.
Oh, man. I mean, they asked if I wanted to come down. I was like, absolutely. And so we did a little thing at Maple Leaf Square. And and then, you're at a Leafs game. I'm with one of my best buddies. We're watching the Leafs in the playoffs. And then, in between intermissions, James Hetfield comes up, sits down beside me, and then we just shot the poo for like half an hour.
That's awesome.
What is happening right now?
That is amazing.
And we're talking schedules and like, oh, yeah, you get in your 50s. You need more days in between. So it was a good night. It was a good night. And then I always pop into the Leafs Alumni Lounge just to see some of the guys. And that's just such a kick for me, man. Just to get in there and like see Lou Franciscetti and talk to him for like half an hour. And he's an AEW fan. I'm like, whoa, this guy knows his wrestling. Okay. It's just super fun. Because, all you guys, all those eras, I've watched them all, so it's just very, very cool, and the Leafs are one of those teams like the Yankees in Major League Baseball, like the Cowboys in the NFL. They're just one of those teams, like basketball has the Lakers and the Celtics and hockey has the Leafs and the Canadians. It's that kind of franchise,
Well, Adam, I still question sometimes why and how you do what you do at your age. And a match a couple of weeks ago, you were with John Moxley, and you guys had a crazy match with tacks and that spiked bat. I'm like, what is going on here, man? But I got to ask you.
We're madmen.
You are madman, and you've made a great career out of doing it. What's next for you in wrestling, and how long do you think you'll be able to continue to do this for?
I mean, not much longer. What is the schedules are far better now than they used to be. If you ask me to try and pull off the over 200 days a year that I pulled before, there's absolutely no way, because the recovery just takes too long now. Like all of the match, and it'll take me a good week to finally start walking normal. And I always say I'm like the evolution of man. When I wake up in the morning, I start off as like a Cro-Magnon, then I make it up to Neanderthal, and then eventually I'm human, but it takes a little while. So I realize now, like, I'm 51 years old. I figure I got till maybe 53, the end of this contract, and then I think it's probably time to call it a day and just get out while I can still limp away.
God bless you, man.
And then
God
lick
bless
my wounds and do a whole lot of yoga after.
Nice. So a guy that's been in wrestling, your whole career, for people that still watch, the WrestleManias and the Royal Rumbles and stuff, you've obviously been paying attention to some of the other wrestlers that you've had encounters with, and John Cena turning heel took the sporting world by storm. I mean, it was a massive move. What were your thoughts on that storyline?
So I generally, this is going to sound bad, but I don't watch wrestling. Just because
Me neither.
I'm really burned out in terms of I think it's one of those deals when you're doing it and watching it, it can be all consuming. And I told myself in coming back this time, I wasn't going to let it do that to me. So, this time I have a family, I have 2 kids, and my downtime's spent with them or watching hockey as opposed to, kind of critiquing and pulling apart the wrestling shows. What I get is my clips from Instagram, basically, and I'll watch from there. But I don't watch the full storyline. I don't watch the follow throughs and all the little beats here and there. I don't really know how it went, but a lot of people were talking about it. So when you get a character that's been around for that long as a baby face to turn that's it's like when Hogan turned and joined the NWO, that whole thing, right? So it's always a good shot in the arm for the business, for sure.
Well, hopefully you got a long Leaf playoff run to watch of wrestling. And let's hope, man. And could very well be solidified tonight if the Leafs can take care of business against Ottawa. They'll move on to round 2 and play, likely, the Florida Panthers.
If they play the Florida Panthers, Adam Copeland has to dress for the Maple Leafs.
I think so.
Yes.
You might have to fight Brad Marchand, Sam Bennett, Kachuk.
I could take one guy out with one shift, and then I'm probably retired.
Wow.
Just skate as fast as you can into somebody and spear them.
Yeah, and you'll get your name on the cup. You'll get your name on the cup, which is all that really matters. Thank you so much for the time, Adam. Best of luck going forward, and hopefully we can catch up with you again soon.
Thanks, pal.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Adam Copeland.
This is the best of First Up on TSN 1050. If you like what you hear, you can listen to First Up every weekday morning from 6 till 10. TSN 1050. Traffic.
Southbound on the 427 ramp to the westbound 401, a collision has the right lane blocked. On the 401 westbound express at Leslie, the center lane is closed due to a collision. On the 404 northbound at Don Mills, a crash has the right lane closed and delays stretch back to Bayview Bloor there. In town, multiple reports of downed wires. Please exercise caution when making your way around. And southbound Brimley, south of Ellesmere, all lanes closed with another weather-related road hazard. Weather is unpredictable. Your home's protection doesn't have to be with Pella Windows. Unmatched quality, comfort, and peace of mind. Visit our showrooms in Toronto and Oakville or Pella.com. From the News Talk 1010 Traffic Center, I'm Adil Lakhani.
First Up with Korolnik and Koliakovo. Weekday morning 6 till 10 on TSN 1050.
You ain't first, you're last.
They're coming in hot.
I'm in Costco, and this little Geppetto comes over to me, and he goes, "Hey, O-Dog, your beard's white, huh?" And I go, what kind of stupid comment is that?
Probably spotted you 2 aisles over. Who knows what you were up to?
Well, I let me, before you keep going, I do look around at the grubby T-shirts because sometimes I just need a grubby
Yeah, that's a catch and release, right? You want to be in and out quick. Now, I'm not suggesting it was a good icebreaker.
I know, but dude...
Why wouldn't you say, do you think the Leafs will win tonight?
There you go.
Play.
So you went
Easiest
from defending him, and then you stopped your own self and
understand.
said, I don't even care. One more person comes up and says, hey, Whitebeard, it's off.
No, you are a thin John Daly.
I thought he was going to say a Clooney type.
Yeah, someone that's
thin John
I'm
Daly.
talking the white beard.
Yes, you got the white beard. You
right?
do.
Dude,
which is way worse than the Costco guy.
Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog. Weekdays at 4 on TSN 1050.
Hey, it's Dolly. People have always commented on my scent, asking what I was wearing and where could they get it. Well, I have been blending my own scent for years, and now I'm sharing it with you. Dolly Scent from Above is the perfect gift for your mother, daughter, grandma, aunt, sister, or any special woman in your life that you wish to celebrate this Mother's Day. Dolly Scent from Above, available now at Walmart stores and Walmart.com.
There's something real here, right?
Yeah, of course.
Late Bloomer, the Crave original, the Globe and Mail calls one of the 10 best new shows of 2024 is back.
You have a wife at this point. Look how old you are.
From creator and star Jasmine Reyna. Don't miss the new season of the hit comedy critics say shines with authenticity and wit.
What if we don't have kids?
Late Bloomer, new season stream now, only on Crave. Subscribe now at crave.ca.
Still sweating it out with an old unreliable AC unit? That discomfort